The Twilight Saga is back. If you, like me, were once completely caught up in the world of vampires, forbidden love, and the mesmerizing chemistry between Bella and Edward, you're in for some exciting news. I know it's been over a decade since the Twilight Saga wrapped up, but here we are. Twilight is officially making a comeback, and it's not exactly in the way I expected. So, let's talk about it. First things first, we should set the record straight. Instead of another movie, we're getting an animated series based on Midnight Sun, which, if you didn't know, is Stephen E. Meyer's companion novel from 2020 that tells the story of Twilight from Edward's perspective. I know, we are not used to seeing animated shows within this universe. And yes, it is difficult to imagine the entire movie franchise this time in the animated format. But I think we can all congratulate the producers on the creativity, because personally, I wouldn't think about such an idea in a million years. I'll be honest with you, I've missed the world of Twilight and the crazy love story that had me, and so many others completely obsessed, and I'm sure you're feeling the same way. So, even though a part of me finds it ridiculous, not gonna lie, I'm open to Twilight at any format now. In other words, I have no complaints. But let me know what you think. Now, onto the subject matter. Midnight Sun retells the Twilight story, but instead of hearing Bella's inner monologue, we get a glimpse into Edward's mind. This time, it's his thoughts that guide us through his and Bella's whirlwind romance. And if you've ever wondered what it was like for Edward to struggle with the urge to protect Bella while also falling deeply in love with her, well, here's our chance to find out. Edward's world is full of complex emotions, guilt, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. And I know that, as a huge Twilight fan, I've always wanted to understand Edward better, so this is the perfect way to do that. If you didn't read the book, Midnight Sun isn't just about Edward being Bella's protector though. It's about his internal battle and the constant tug of war between the man he was and the vampire he's become. For those of us who felt Edward was a little too perfect in the original Twilight, this version shows a side of him that's more human. So for once, he feels guilt, loneliness, and doubt. And yeah, I personally loved the book for this. But I have to admit, it was a bit redundant to read the same things all over again, regardless of the perspective shift. So instead of reading the book, I'm glad we will have a show to consume, which is arguably the more entertaining way of getting into a story. But let me know if you prefer books or shows. Plus, I've got to say, this is a really smart way of reviving the franchise. I mean, we all know how huge Twilight was. The films were massive, and those books were all over the place. Seriously, I couldn't go anywhere without someone talking about Twilight. And though the original films were iconic, they didn't have much room to fully explore Edward's perspective. I mean, cinema is both the greatest, but also the most limiting medium out there. So, needless to say, the Midnight Sun animated series has so much potential. Animation is the perfect format to explore all of the supernatural elements and the emotional intensity that comes with being a vampire. Overall, it's a fresh way to return to the universe we fell in love with, and it's exactly what I didn't know I needed. So, what do we know about the series so far? Well, unfortunately, not too much. But we do know that Netflix has partnered with Lionsgate to bring Midnight Sun to life. It's still early days in terms of production, but the fact that it's happening at all is enough to get me excited. Since the books and the movies were absolute hits, there is no worry that the animated show will also be a hit. In my mind, it is already an elevated, more romantic version of Castlevania. And yes, the moment it is out, I'll instantly binge it. When will it be out though? Well, it is expected to be released within 2026, but we will see. There is still no casting information, and we know for a fact that the showrunners try to convince the original cast members, such as Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, to get on board. Once their decisions become definite, then the production process will accelerate. For more updates on Twilight and other upcoming Netflix releases, make sure to like and follow. Meanwhile, the video on the screen might also interest you.